Welcome everyone to another wonderful day for our next topic. Today we will be discussing about asymptotes of rational functions. Okay, but before we start, let us first know our objectives for today's lesson. Okay, at the end of the lesson, you are all expected to understand what is meant by a rational function, graph a rational function, understand the asymptotes of the graph of a rational function, and determine the zeros of a rational function. These are the activities that you will be doing and learning for this topic. Now let's proceed. Asymptotes. An asymptote is an imaginary line to which a graph gets closer and closer as the x or y increases or decreases its value without limit. There are two kinds of asymptote, the vertical asymptote and the horizontal asymptote. Vertical asymptote. The vertical line x is equal to a is a vertical asymptote of a function f if the graph increases or decreases without bound as the x values approach a from the right or left. Now, this red dotted line here is what we call the vertical asymptote. Dili na siya mo touch sa ato ang graph, this one, the right part of our graph and the left part of the graph. Dili na sila magdikit, straight lang gina siya. That is what we call the vertical asymptote. Finding vertical asymptote. To determine the vertical asymptote of a rational function, first reduce the given function to simplest form, then find the zeros of the denominator that are not zeros of the numerator. Okay, now let's have an example for finding the vertical asymptote. Okay. The instruction here is to determine the vertical asymptote of each rational function. We have here number 1. Ang dapat buhaton ra jud is to look for the denominator. Mangita tag values ni x na kung atong i-add ni 5, mag-answer siya 0. So we can have x is equals to negative 5. This is our value of vertical asymptote, y. Kung atong i-substitute si negative 5 dira, that becomes negative 5 plus 5, and that is 0. So our vertical asymptote for number 1 is negative 5. Now let's proceed to example number 2. Example number 2, we have here the denominators x plus 1 times x minus 4. So si x plus 1, ang makapa-0 ana niya, dapat ang value ni x kay negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1, that is 0. So our first vertical asymptote is negative 1. And of course, since duha sila, we need to find the another another value of x nga makapa-0 diari. So since negative si 4, we can have x is equal to 4. Why? 4 minus 4, that is 0. Therefore, ang atong vertical asymptotes, therefore, the vertical asymptotes are negative 1 and positive 4. Also, sa number 1, we can have the conclusion, therefore, the vertical asymptote is negative 5. Now let's proceed to example number 3. We have g of x is equal to 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 over x squared minus 6x plus 9. To identify the value of x nga makapa-0 sa ato ang denominator, we need to factor this first. So i-factor na to si denominator. Factors of x squared, that is x times x. Positive si last term, negative si middle term. Therefore, the factors are all negative. Factors ni 9 nga kung i-add kay 6, that is 3 times 3 equals 9. 3 plus 3, that is 6. Okay. I-factor si numerator, that is 2x times x. Same, positive si last term, negative si middle term. This is all negative. Factors ni 1, that is 1 times 1. Now, since si denominator naman, parihas sila x minus 3, pangitaon na to ang value ni x, nga makapa-0 sa tong denominator. So, since negative si 3 dira, pwede ra na to idritso si x is equal to 3. Why? 3 minus 3, that is 0. 3 minus 3, that is also 0. Therefore, the vertical asymptote of the rational function is positive 3. Make sure na ang value nga 3 sa atong vertical asymptote dili ma-0 si numerator. So, 2 times 3, that is 6, minus 1, that is 5. 3 minus 1, that is 2. So, dili 0. Now, let's go back to number 2. Negative 1. Negative 1 plus 2, that is 1. 4 plus 2, that is 6. So, wala na 0 si numerator. So, okay ang ato ang answers. Now, sa number 1, we have negative 5 minus 1, that is negative 6. Therefore, wala na 0 si numerator. So, all our answers are correct. For number 1, we have negative 5. Number 2, we have negative 1 and positive 4. And number 3, we have positive 3, which is correct. Horizontal asymptote. The horizontal line y equals b is a horizontal asymptote of the function f if f of x gets closer to b as x increases or decreases without bound. So, kaning red line, red dotted line, that is what we call the horizontal asymptote. Kanang dili mag-touch sa atong graph. Dili na siya mo-touch sa atong graph. Dara na side and also on this part here. So, mo na ang gitawag na horizontal asymptote. To determine the horizontal asymptote of a rational function, compare the degree of the numerator, which is n, and the degree of the denominator, which is d. And if the numerator is less than the denominator, the horizontal asymptote is y is equal to 0. If the numerator is equal to the denominator, the horizontal asymptote y is the ratio of the leading coefficient of the denominator b. That is, y is equal to a over b. And if the numerator is greater than the denominator, there is no horizontal asymptote. Now, let's have an example. Determine the horizontal asymptote of each rational function. We have here, first one is f of x is equal to 3x plus 8 over x squared plus 1. Now, ang nang buhaton is to identify the degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator. Unsay pasabot sa degree? Ang degree, mao na siya ang pinakadako nga exponent nga makita nato sa numerator and denominator. Now, ang degree sa numerator is 1. Because kung walay exponent makita sa variable, pasabutan na siya 1. So, therefore, 1 is the degree of the numerator. And sa denominator is 2. Visible si 2. Now, niingon ang rules ganina in finding the horizontal asymptote kung si degree ni numerator is less than the degree of the denominator, pasabot ang horizontal asymptote is y is equal to 0. So, in words, therefore, the horizontal asymptote of the rational function, this is rational function, f of x is equal to 3x plus 8 over x squared plus 1 is set at y is equal to 0. So, mauna to ang horizontal asymptote. Now, let's have example letter B. We have here f of x is equal to 3 plus 8x squared over x squared plus 1. So, first, again, identify na to ang degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator. Sa numerator, makita na to ang degree niya is 2 and sa denominator also naapoy 2. Now, niingon ang law or ang rule in finding the horizontal asymptote kung ang degree ni numerator kay equal sa degree ni denominator, we need to follow the formula nga gihatag, that is y is equal to numerator divided by the denominator. Unsay i-divide? I-divide na to ang leading coefficient ni numerator or ni degree sa numerator o denominator. In this case, sa numerator, ang leading coefficient niya kay 8 and sa denominator is 1. Pasabot kung walay tapad na number ang variable na ay 1. So, in substituting, this is 8 over 1. So, therefore, y is equal to 8. In words, our conclusion is, therefore, the horizontal asymptote of the rational function f of x is equal to 3 plus 8x squared over x squared plus 1 is set at y is equal to 8. So that is example letter B. Now, let's proceed to example letter C. We have here g of x is equal to 8x cubed minus 1 over 1 minus x squared. So, first, buhaton, we need to identify the degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator. Ang degree sa numerator, diare, is 3. Ang denominator is 2. Pag ang degree ni numerator is greater than the degree of denominator, ang conclusion ani is that there is no horizontal asymptote for the rational function g of x is equal to 8x cubed minus 1 over 1 minus x squared. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Have a good day.